Hello everyone, it's Jamarl Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. Guys, I hope you all are okay today. So I did one video a little bit earlier, and before sorry, gotta do my pitch. If you guys enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always help the show out, either through PayPal or Patreon. You can't do Super Chat, but you can do Streamlabs, which is below, Streamlabs/Jamarl Thomas. And that would allow you to give a contribution during the show. And a little Vulcan or some kind of Star Trek character will pop up and thank you very much for your contribution. Now, that said, Rachel Maddow has some people would say Rachel Maddow's show has gotten embarrassing a long time ago, but this one kind of takes the cake. This is a way of looking at reality in a way of saying, I see a car right there, but I'm going to say instead of that being a car, that's a flying eagle that's on fire, coked up, streaming through the sky, and crashing into some kind of billboard. It's not a car at all. It's what I just said. This is what's taking place here all around the Manafort conviction. Paul Manafort was convicted, and just so we go through, I did it in the last video, but I can't assume that everyone saw the last video. So, where's my Paul Manafort? All right. So just so we're clear on what's taking place, and let's flip it. This is The Guardian. And I want to tell you, I want this to tell you itself, because at this point I don't want you to say, well, Jamal said it, but I want to get it right, and I want to be precise. Because my argument is Rachel Maddow doesn't know what the hell she's talking about. I don't know how you can get paid $30,000 a day and be this wrong. Or maybe you get $30,000 a day because you are this wrong. That every day Rachel Maddow would get out there and she'd go look at the audience and she'll tell them something that's incredibly, unvarnishedly wrong. Especially with regards to it attacking Donald Trump. So let's flip. All right. Paul Manafort, Trump's ex-campaign chair, guilty on 8 counts of fraud. So yes, he's guilty. That part is true. Yeah, let's get into it. Donald Trump's former campaign, Paul Manafort, has been found guilty on 8 counts of fraud. A resounding victory for special counsel Robert Mueller and his team in the first trial arising from their investigation. Manafort was convicted on Tuesday on 5 counts of tax fraud, 2 counts of bank fraud, and 1 count of failure to report the foreign bank account. Those charges carry a maximum sentence of decades in prison. He avoided conviction on some charges, however, with the jury saying he could not reach a consensus on 10 out of 18 total counts. He has been charged with bank fraud, tax fraud, failure to report foreign bank accounts, and conspiracy. Some of the fraud activity overlapped with his time chairing the Trump administration or election campaign. Manafort stood stone-faced as he was found guilty on 8 counts, but winked at his wife Kathleen upon leaving the courtroom. Wearing a navy blue suit, he appeared weathered by his time in jail. His tan had faded, and his gray hair had grayed. That's brutal. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, that feels brutal to me. He's been weathered by his time in jail. You know, him being locked in a cage with other rough, gruff, burly human beings. Yeah, that would do it. That would do it. The wild part about this is, and I said this in the last video, he winked at his wife Kathleen upon leaving the courtroom. And I thought to myself, would I be able to wink to my wife when I'm walking out of the courtroom? I think I'd be a mess. I'm being honest. I think I'd be a mess. I think I'd fall apart. Talking about falling out in court, be crying and everything. If there was a time to panic and cry, this would be it, and I'd be unabashed by it. I wouldn't even care. Oh, God! Let's take him out of jail! Let's take him in a cage! Yeah, I'd be flipping out big time. I'd be flipping out. Why? Why not? Do your thing. This is your moment. Look, I've said before that if you're going down in a plane crash, if there was ever a time to panic, that would be the time to panic. And can you really, begrudge a person in the last moments of their death for not necessarily taking that last moments necessarily strong and burly? No. If there's a moment to flip out, that would be the moment. I feel the same about this and going to prison for a very long time. Trump portrayed the Manafort prosecution, which grew out of an FBI investigation predating the 2016 campaign, as an unusual outgrowth of the special counsel's investigation into Russian interference in the election. This has nothing to do with Russian collusion, Trump said. There are witch hunts, and this is a disgrace. It has nothing to do with Russian collusion. We continue the witch hunt. Donald Trump, if anything Donald Trump has ever said is true, this will be one of those things. This case has nothing to do with Russia-Trump collusion. This was something that predated the Trump campaign. The Manafort conviction, Manafort was working with the Ukraine to get the Ukraine to become a member of the European Union. Manafort worked so much with Ukraine that they joked that Manafort was a member of the CIA. Like, this is what I'm trying to get across to you. All of the evidence, including evidence submitted in the Mueller case itself, gets across that Manafort was working in the interest of getting the Ukraine into a closer relationship with the European Union and the United States. Aaron Mattei has detailed this magnificently, going after Chris Hayes. Now, but in fact, I don't think I'm going to do the Aaron Mattei thing, because I did that in a previous video. You can look at it for yourself, and that video was like 23 minutes long. I went through all of the evidence, pushing back and completely destroying, obliterating any notion that this thing could have had anything to do with Russian collusion. So I'm going to save it for that video. What I will say is this, and everything that I'm saying is backed up perfectly. Rick Gates, who worked for Manafort, comes out in court, turning on the Manafort, turns on him, and in turning on him, nails the point that Manafort was working to engage the Ukraine closer to Europe. He wanted to get the Ukraine into the European Union. He wrote proposals. He pushed the current president of the president, Yakovenko. I'm mispronouncing his name. But even pushed him to get closer ties to the European Union. The goal was to get Ukraine into the European Union, making the point of saying we're not going to lose Ukraine to Russia, we're not going to use the Ukraine to Russia. All of this pushes in the direction of, and I know I keep saying this, but I want to nail this down, and I want, if anything else is missed, that Manafort was working to get the European Union or the Ukraine into the European Union. That's what the evidence says in court. That's what Rick Gates got up and said in court. Even, take a look at this, Fusion GPS. Even Fusion GPS, the people who wrote the PP diaries and said Donald Trump had a hooker in Russia pee on a bed because he hated Obama just that much. Even the guys who came up with that nonsense, the Fusion GPS guys, look at what they say. Take their word for the moment. Again, don't take my word for it. Take theirs. Go back. All right, right here. This is Fusion GPS. Where is it? These are all the strategy proposals that Manafort was writing to get the Ukraine to be a part of the European Union. But I'm looking for something very specific. Right here. A former researcher for Fusion GPS, the firm behind the Steele dossier, affirms the story I detailed above. Manafort was one of the driving forces pushing Yakovenko towards signing the agreement with the EU. The Kremlin has every reason to hate him. Now, I'm trying to crystallize this in your head. If you say, oh my God, Jamarl is continuing to say the same thing over and over again. Yes, I'm saying the same thing over and over again because I want this nailed down. Fusion GPS. As a contributor to the Fusion GPS researcher Manafort, I share the blame because we got Manafort almost completely wrong. We got it wrong. He comes out and says we screwed up. What we got wrong about Manafort and what Mueller got partially right in his indictment is that Manafort was nothing like a pro-Kremlin influence on the former Ukrainian president Viktor Yakovenko. I'm murdering that name, as the dossier alleged. Instead, Manafort was one of the driving forces pushing Yukanovic towards signing the agreement with the European Union. The Kremlin has every reason to hate him. That's what we have at our disposal as evidence and information regarding Manafort. I spent 10 minutes doing that. I spent 10 minutes doing that because I wanted you to hate me because I kept saying the same thing over and over again. And by the way, just to be clear, I'm putting all of these links at the bottom for you to see for yourself. Everything I've said is absolutely, completely 100% true. Rick Gates spills the beans on super rich Ukrainians who paid Manafort millions. And what he spilled the beans on? After Manafort led the successful campaign of the former Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych in 2010, Manafort signed a $4 million annual advisory agreement to help the administration translate campaign pledges into reality. Gates said this: Manafort recruited top European politicians to help him out with that effort. Manafort crafted a policy for Yanukovych aimed at bringing Ukraine into the European Union called Engage Ukraine. Now, with this information, I'm saying this in court, Mueller testifying to this himself. Mueller, this is what's known as reality. This is what we have as reality. All right. Now that I've established that this is reality, let's go here. Let's go here. All right, let's go here again.
Office to manage his policies as the leader of Ukraine. Right? The reason that's a swerve toward Russia is because once Yanukovych was elected, his policies took a hard turn away from Europe and toward Vladimir Putin. The reason Yanukovych was thrown out of office in a popular uprising of the Ukrainian people is because once he was in power, he turned hard line away from the EU and toward Moscow. Apparently, while we just learned today, Paul Manafort was being paid $4 million a year to advise him on how he should govern. In Michael Iskov and David Korn's book, Russian Roulette, they interviewed the career State Department official who was the senior diplomat on Russia in the U.S. government for years. Iskov and Korn asked her about what her reaction was when she learned that Paul Manafort had been named Trump's campaign chairman in 2016. She said her answer was this, quote, Manafort? Manafort? She thought, quote, he's been a Russian stooge for 15 years.
Compare what she just told you with what I just told you. Meaning, the insinuation that she's leaving here is that Manafort was a Russian stooge. You know, Harding, the guy who's a Russian gator himself, he's a hardcore Russian gator, in his book Collusion, said this. That's the New York Times, I'm sorry. Where's Paul Harding? Right here. Luke Harding. Luke Harding is a Russia file himself. He's one of those guys who's a hardcore Russia hacked us. Nevertheless, according to Voslin, Manafort was an advocate for U.S. interests. So much so that the joke inside the Party of Regions was that he actually worked for the CIA. He promoted American oil companies like Exxon and Chevron. He supported Ukraine's association with NATO and the European Union. He warned Yanukovych not to lock up Timoshenko. If it weren't for Paul Manafort, Ukraine would have gone under Russia much earlier, Voslin told me. He was the one dragging Yanukovych to the west. In the end, the Russians had to make threats against Yanukovych about his personal safety. Now, again, compare what I just told you with what you just saw from Richmond Maddow. Those are very different things. The impression that she's leaving has no bearing in reality. The guy worked so much in the interests of the United States and the European Union. And look at the links that I provide above. Detailed links on that stuff. Look at the last video that I did. I go full-throatedly into it. And Rachel Maddow comes out and says the exact opposite of reality. The exact opposite of what Fusion GPS is. The exact opposite of what Robert Mueller said. The exact opposite of what Luke Harding said. The exact opposite of what all of these people Who would know? Say. And what is, at this point, considered to be evidence or the mainstream understanding of things. There are plenty of these people out there who are trying to push a narrative, and they're trying to somehow, in weird Orwellian terms, make the connection between Manafort and the Ruskies. Understand why they're doing this. My signal is getting a little weird, guys. I apologize. I don't know why. It's trying to come back. If this video doesn't work out, I'll upload the video afterwards. Understand why she's doing this. Think about it. For the most part, they've come up with this thing of Russian hacked us and all this other stuff. And Manafort was one of the first people to get popped. Now, when Manafort gets popped, people say, well, this has nothing to do with Russia or with Trump and Russia at all. This is nothing to do with Trump and Russia at all. This is nothing to do with Trump and Russia at all. This is something that predated Trump. So what? You pop Manafort. Sad day for Manafort, but what does it have to do with Trump? So what? This has nothing to do with Russia collusion. So now you have Rachel Maddow saying, wait, it does, in some strange way, have something to do with Russia collusion, and I, Rachel Maddow, will find a way to get that across to you, in which case you get what you just saw from Rachel Maddow. I'm sorry, give me 1 second, guys. You're getting nonsense. You're getting nonsense. She is trying to establish a link between two things that no link exists, and defying reality itself. Getting paid all of that money a day, she comes out and says strange and ridiculous things. This is the same woman that did a show teasing that she had Trump's tax returns, or that very least she could show that Trump didn't pay any taxes, and then showing his tax returns after like 10-15 minutes of wasting people's time, she proves that Donald Trump paid his taxes. This is the person that we're dealing with. And once again, this person, because she is in this camp of I need to do whatever I can do to try to create a link between Trump and Russia, because otherwise I look absolutely ridiculous since I've spent the last 2 years talking about something that doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. So I need to make shit up. And now I'm going to do a show where I'm going to defy reality itself. But hey, who needs reality? I get $30,000 a day. I'm Rachel Maddow. I'm Rachel Maddow. Let's somebody contribute it. Thank you, I appreciate it. Let's see. The Russian conclusion. The Russian conclusion is collusion delusion. I can say that 3 times fast. The Russian collusion. I can say that 3 times fast, and the first time around you fuck up. The Russian conclusion is a collusion delusion. The Russian conclusion is a collusion delusion. The Russian conclusion is a collusion delusion. Bam, fucking A. Yan Akovik. Yan Akovik. It rhymes. Yanukovych. Yanukovych. Oh, thank you, Yanukovych. It rhymes with bitch. Yanukovych. Is it Vitch? I thought it was Yanukovych. But you're right. Yeah, you're right. Thank you. The funny part about this is I've covered this story when this story first came out. And I've been butchering this guy's names for God knows how long. So, Ikonovich. Thank you. Thank you. We crane for Ukraine. Your background is dizzying me out. Well, I need a background that dizzies that way, because otherwise sometimes they will say you're duplicating the video. So, I've read fascinating things about the Ukraine and this relationship, the odd relationship that Ukraine has. Like, Ukraine is not really European, but Ukraine is also not necessarily Russian, and yet both states have had this kind of extreme influence on Ukrainian politics just because of Ukraine's position there. From the standpoint of geopolitical influence, if the Ukraine goes to Europe, then Europe is on the border of Russia. Russia makes all the sense in the world if you're just sitting there playing these things like a chessboard. It's going to create a left between itself and what he considers to be enemy forces. Think about it. They've been putting up NATO weaponry on the border of Russia, essentially up into these NATO nations. Well, what are you thinking? If you're Russia, the United States was willing to go to war in the Cuban Missile Crisis. I mean, come on, let's be fair. Let's be fair. You still butchered it, Jamal. Did I? 2-20, I still butchered it? Yanukovych. Lockheed Martin and other ads on her show. Oh, really? Jamal is not a star in pronouncing names. No, I am not. No, I am not. No, I am not. I am not. I have many failings, and that is one. That is one. Everything in the story that I've just told you is absolutely correct. Does that mean I won't butcher the names? Yes, I will butcher the names, even after hearing them over and over and over and over again just from listening to the news on it. But I thought it was Yanukovych. Baltazar, all in a vat of butter and rendered house. I have no idea what that means. I have no idea what that means. No clue what that means. All right, guys, I'm going to end this here. God, they are... Look, either they are fucking this up on purpose, or they're getting this magnificently wrong just out of incompetence. They are in a perspective, and I suspect their ideology is driving the stories, not necessarily the stories and the reality of it itself. They have gone with a perspective for 2 years, and the one thing that they got that they can try to put their arms around, there's nothing there. They're trying to wrap something around Trump when there is nothing to wrap around Trump. And I'm sorry, this is no basis in reality at all. There's no basis in reality. So I'm going to end this here. Jamal starts all his broadcasts by checking his volume. YouTubing is stressful. Luca, it is stressful. Checking his volume. I'm going to check my volume. They're covering their asses. Yeah, but this looks insane. Like, if Robert Mueller comes out and says, look, he was working in the Ukraine to get it closer to the United States, and that's what's being implemented in the trial itself, meaning that's what comes out in the trial. That's what his own guy who's turning on him comes out and says. That's what Fusion GPS says. That's what Luke Hardy, that's what all these people say. All these people agree on reality is this way. People who are actually in the camp of Russian gators. And Maddow looks at this in the face and challenges reality itself. Fuck reality. Who needs reality? Who needs reality? Tune it. I saw your other video, Jamal. You need to stay up on repression and political killing of Stalin and the Soviet Union. There's no excuse for their propaganda. I have no idea what you're talking about. I honestly have no idea what you're talking about. Zero idea on what you're talking about. I did my other video, so I was there for it. I have no idea what it has to do with Stalin. Zero. I do know what it has to do from the standpoint of these people are lying, and regardless of what you want to think of Stalin, fair enough. What does that have to do with Chris Hayes either lying or absolute incompetence in getting across the truth and reality of the current situation? I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. Kalita, it was Paul Manafort and the Chris Hayes. Yeah, it was. That video was like 30 minutes long, going into detail stuff using Aramate. Aramate is a goddamn buzzsaw. The man is awesome. All right, I want to end this here. If you guys enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support through Patreon. I don't know what they're talking about. I have no idea what Tunit is talking about. Look, just because you tell something truthful about something that's not necessarily great, it doesn't necessarily mean you're loving anything that you're talking about. I don't like Donald Trump at all, but I can say when Donald Trump is right, that doesn't necessarily mean I love Trump. It just means that what he's saying at the moment is right. I mean, come on, what the hell are you talking about? You know what you're talking about, Tunit? I have no idea what you're talking about. even brings up prisoners chanting Stalin while walking to their deaths. They were part of a system, man. If you ever hear Slashov's Zizek talks about this, where this thing of even prisoners in doing that last act of proclaiming Stalin is awesome while they're putting him to his death. It's like these guys are participating within the system, even if that system is fucked up. Yeah, it's fascinating. People are just trying to justify their false narrative. Yes, it is, out of fear that it may be admitting the wrong and easily controlled. That, and also, the problem here is Mueller popped Manafort. But the stuff that they popped Manafort with had nothing to do with Russia. Rachel Maddow, Russiagator, comes out and says, look, I'm going to try to tie him to Russia anyway. Even though it has nothing to do with it, I'm going to tie it to him anyway. And she comes out with this weird broadcast, creating this odd narrative that flies in the face of reality. So yeah. Jamarl, would you say that your hat is a pork pie hat or a fedora? This is a fedora, Luca. This is a fedora pork pie hat. And that was the reason for propaganda. I'm paraphrasing. No, I understand the reason for propaganda. The reason for propaganda is to control your society. I get that. You want to create boundaries in the mind of your society. I mean, if you can get your society to hate the other, it makes it a little bit easier for them to kill the other. Yes, propaganda, I get it. But I don't think I said anything that propaganda is awesome. I guess MSNBC is stalling for the chance to make unscrupulous Putin bad context. God, I love that, man. I love that. If I had my other setup, I could put that out on the main monitor so you can see it. Yeah, Ross Nixon, Balthazar, nice. Yeah, Balthazar, I give props to that one. I like that one. I like that. Everybody's giving Balthazar this kind of high five. I love it. It's not a hat. It's a sky piece. Sky piece. Rachel Maddow is an idiot. She needs to have a baby so someone can listen to her fairy tales. Oh, God. That's so sexist. Galamashi, God, that sounds so sexist. You know, the wild part about this is she's not dumb. Rachel Maddow is not stupid. What are you talking about? The woman is a Rhodes Scholar. No, she knows what she's doing. She has a job to do. She goes out and does the job. You know, in Kenya, the U.S. military hires Kenyan people, essentially hires poor Kenyans to go out and murder people around the globe. The Kenyans who are here, who takes that job, know that the job that they're taking is going to have them out here doing really nasty, nasty things because they don't have this propaganda that the United States is love and light. And, it's just like they're fighting for the good guy. They take the job because they need to take the job because they have a wife at home. They have a kid to feed. They have some responsibility that they need to deal with, that they need to pay for, and that the society to which they're in does not allow them to live a decent life. It is very easy to get a guy who's not living a decent life by paying him something, to give him more access to his needs, especially if you're having desperate poverty. Rachel Maddow is getting $30,000 a day. Just saying, that's a decent wage for a Rhodes Scholar to go out there and say things that are completely untrue and try to make their audience believe it. I will tell you this, she will have a willing audience to listen to it. She would have I'm pretty sure there's no way to tell the truth if you're paying $30,000 a day, let alone pay not to. That's an interesting, maybe. I don't know. All right, I'm going to end this because my signal is very low for whatever reason. This thing has been solid for the most part, but I'm going to end it here and see if I can restart it or something like that, see if I can get it better. So if you guys enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always